shows the number of patients who have been hospitalized in Connecticut due to H1N1 flu. So beginning in May, we began to see patients hospitalized for this illness. We had a huge peak of hospitalizations that's kind of settled down. The number has declined. We continue surveillance for both hospitalizations and deaths due to flu, and specifically H1N1 as well as seasonal flu. All we're seeing right now is H1N1. But we're not seeing very many hospitalizations, and this is because we don't have virus circulating at a very great level as of today, or as of this week.
Can I just interrupt you?
Sure.
When do you think that may change? Because of cold weather, because of people being inside more?
There are a lot of theories that it's the children being in school more, and when they come in and they congregate more, there's a lot of transmission. One of the theories that we've kind of battered around about the Northeast is if you look at this map back in April and May, the rest of the country was seeing very little H1N1 activity because their schools get out so much earlier than our schools get out. Our schools didn't dismiss until later in June, and so we had widespread up in the Northeast. We were all brown when the rest of the country was a lighter color. So we're thinking that, you know, we're just a little bit later because we came back to school later. A lot of the southern states begin school a lot earlier than states in the Northeast.
Excuse me,
So,
do you have hospitalizations for normal flu as well, charted that way? Like as a
yes, and this
comparison?
is actually a graph of that. In
That.
Connecticut, this is our last flu season, and in this particular graph, the blue bars show the cases by age group for seasonal influenza. Okay, so seasonal influenza, we have more severe illness and hospitalizations as people get older. So you see this blue, it goes up with the older that you get. However, the red bars indicate hospitalizations with H1N1 flu, and you see them all across the board. Okay, even more so in the younger, younger than 65 age group. This again is very unusual. It's very unusual for healthy people to be hospitalized with the flu. And this last graph is just another surveillance system we have in Connecticut where emergency departments send us data feeds every day describing visits to the emergency department. So if someone is there for a fever and a sore throat, we're able to take that data, run it through some programs, and categorize it as a visit for fever, flu. And it correlates very well with what we see with our seasonal flu. And if you look at the blue line, that's a normal flu season. That's 2007, 2008 flu emergency department visits, or a proportion of them. And it goes up in the winter and it comes back down to baseline again. The yellow line is 2008, 2009, this past flu season. And again, we see it build. These people showing up in emergency departments for visits related to flu-like illness. And it comes all the way down. And at this point, we thought, oh boy, our flu season is just about over. And then this is April. And this first kind of little spike there, we think, is kind of a false reaction. That's when the news hit the media about swine flu and people were actually thinking they had it and they were going to emergency rooms. It came down, but then as the outbreak progressed in Connecticut, again, we saw this gradual rise of people showing up in emergency departments for visits for fever and flu. And it actually is much higher than it was in either one of our seasonal flu seasons in the past 2 years. This has us very worried because it really comes into bear on the capacity of hospitals to be able to care for sick people. The hot pink line starting way over here is what we're beginning to see this flu season. I should say that we typically start in October counting cases of seasonal flu. This year we're starting in September, as is the rest of the country because of H1N1 flu. And already we're seeing it's kind of, you know, it tends to go up and down initially. We're watching this very carefully because it's starting higher than our baseline rates of visits. So we're already seeing some activity out there, and what we're hoping is not to see it go very high again, but that's one of the indicators we have that flu is circulating, as well as testing and other